Welcome to our Friday webinar session where we will take you through how Copilot acts as an AI agent interacting with Business Central. We welcome everyone on board. In today's webinar session, we will tackle a couple of agenda points. So just first of all, a welcome introduction. I would welcome everyone on board in the meeting, and specifically also Doug today, Doug Batchelor, which will be sharing some exciting demo on how to use Copilot and interact with Business Central. So just more introductions of myself. I'm Gerard Meinhardt, and I will tell you more about some of the MCP server, what it actually is, and more about Copilot. So let's get started. So a couple of agenda points that we will work through in some time slots. And we're going to start off with what is the MCP server and more about Copilot. So if you think historically, connecting to an external system or maybe a piece of software to your Business Central environment, it could require a massive blueprint. As you know, you had to sit down with developers, map out exactly the fields, write a rigid custom point-to-point API, and pray that the software update wouldn't break the whole pipeline. So if a user wants then in future to do something different, it might mean that we need to go back to the drawing board and updating the endpoint. But with the launch of Business Central, version 27 and 28, Microsoft has completely flipped the script. We're stepping out of the era of static, rigid integrations and walking straight into the era of AI agents. Before I continue to the next agenda point, during the live demonstration, I will add a poll to the chat, which I want you all to participate in just selecting which of the suggested sessions, webinar session, you would want for us as the Linc team to deliver next. So we'll add that during the demonstration, the live demonstration that Doug will do for us. So we'll do the live demonstration. We'll have to talk about the implementation and licensing as well as limitations and considerations, and then we'll leave up some time for any questions afterwards. Cool. So what is MCP and how Copilot becomes an agent? You've likely been hearing a lot about Copilot, whether you're at a dry or maybe at some function. And up until now, Copilot has been fantastic, helping us to draft emails, summarize chats if you use Microsoft Teams, for example, or just look up some simple data. Today, we will take it further and talk about how Copilot and other AI tools can have a direct brain-to-system connection on your Business Central, into Business Central. So, as you've noted, we talk a lot about MCP. So, what on earth is an MCP server? MCP server is that bridge that's making it possible to connect to Business Central. So, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. So, think of the Model Context Protocol, or the MCP, as a universal translator and a secure toolbox. Instead of building individual bridges for every single task, the MCP server allows Business Central agent to communicate with Business Central. So the MCP server is within Business Central, and that's been shipped in with versions 27, 28. Cool. So what is the real world impact traditionally, automation can only do what it's explicitly been told. For example, if it's not A, then it should be B. But with MCP enabled with Copilot, it can handle contexts. You can check an outstanding balance in Business Central. You can cross-reference your current physical warehouse stock. You can also apply a company discount policy and make a business decision on real-time data. Your team no longer has to hunt across 6 different list pages, cards, and filter views to piece together a customer status or a warehouse emergency. They can simply type a natural sentence in their chat interface with Copilot, and the AI securely navigates the system on their behalf. So this is the most important part for all the IT directors that might be in the room. The MCP server doesn't create a backdoor. It's strict security locked via the Microsoft Entra ID. If a user doesn't have permission to modify a general ledger card or delete any other master data or record in real life, the agent cannot do that for them either. So now that we know more about what is the MCP server, the MCP server within Business Central, just heard a little bit about Copilot and how Copilot interacts, it might be good just to show how that pieces all connect together. So if you think about the Copilot and MCP server within Business Central, think of it as a digital invitation. You can decide exactly what your BC environment shows AI, and then AI knows how to ask for the right language. So if we start off with the first puzzle piece in the slide, that would be the Copilot Studio agent. So that's the orchestrator. So this is the user-facing AI layer where the interaction begins. In the demo that Doc will show us shortly, you will see how Copilot Studio agent looks like. You can also use Microsoft Teams or a web portal to interact then with Copilot and Business Central. When a user asks complex business questions or request an action, the agent as Copilot will then interact with the MCP connectivity within Business Central, send the right request, and then find the tools to solve it. If we move on to the BC MCP server, that's the actual translator. So that's the functionality within Business Central that act as the bridge between AI, that means now Copilot, and Business Central, which then exposes Business Central capabilities as standard tools which the AI then can understand, which we use then as our AI agent Copilot. So the MCP server can handle requests, dispatching, business logic interpretation, and critical security and authentication protocols. Try to all add it into the BC MCP server puzzle piece there so that you can understand more about the security as well that MCP server has for us. So the MCP server then also translates the AI's natural language into structured data retrieval requests and manage the data flow from Business Central securely. So then our last puzzle piece there to see how it fits all in together, this is Business Central. So this is where MCP server plugs into Business Central. So Business Central is our actual ERP environment, where our actually data tables, our financial records, our inventory, manufacturing processes, and business logic resides. It securely processes the data requested by the MCP server. It records the actions in an audit log, and it feeds the precise feedback to Business Central up the chain so that Copilot can give an accurate real-time response back to the user requesting. So yeah, that's just to summarize how the Copilot with MCP Server and Business Central all connect together. Something important that we would need to talk about is also security, because if we plug in a Copilot agent and we start querying data, or we start giving instructions using Copilot as our AI agent, we need to ensure that security is in place. And it is. When the MCP server is turned on, the AI agents can read from the AI pages, but cannot perform any write or delete operations unless an administrator explicitly open those permissions. As well as the agent can never see or modify data that a connected human user doesn't already have access. So that means if the user that's using the Copilot agent don't have the appropriate access in Business Central to modify or delete specific tables or data, the user won't be able to do so. So MCP and with the security layer that's on that uses then the current user that's querying through the API into Business Central that permissions. And so if that permissions does not give access to update or delete specific tables, the user will not be able to do so. If we look at the MCP server configuration security, we'll see that you can control and toggle the permissions for each API page or tool that's available in the configuration. For example, if you want to use it to only see the item table, you can then enable or toggle the permissions so that MCP server configuration can allow the users to see the table. And for example, on a customer table, if you want more access on a customer table to update records or to block a customer, you would be able then to set that up in the configuration page of MCP, and as the user has access to Business Central with permissions, then the user would be able then to update the customer card. So just some peace of mind on the security that's in place to help protect our data. So we don't want to spend too much time in the webinar just looking at PowerPoint slides and having a lot of theory, and it might not all make sense, but I would like to hand over to Doug to show us more how Copilot is interacting with Business Central in the next few minutes. We'll look at a couple of real-world scenarios. Thank you, Doug.
Great, thank you, Gerard. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go through two different scenarios. One we'll look at from a purchasing perspective, and the other one from a sales perspective. So let's first look at from purchasing. We'll look at showing you capturing vendor details, or viewing vendor details at least, and capturing some purchase invoices. I'm sure some of you joined the last one where I showed you guys the payables agent and all the limitations associated with it. This is a much better option, I believe. It's far more powerful and flexible than the payables agent. So let's go straight into it. So how, like Gerard said, how we can chat to our agent is through, so this is Microsoft Copilot. You could use Teams, and I'll show you just now, but I've created an agent, and I've created an agent as if for De Grendel. So De Grendel Winery, some of you may know this data, just to state here is all dummy data that I've made up. Nothing is real, and it doesn't reflect their actual sales or anything. Okay, so if we let's go back here. So we've created the agent, and then we can start addressing it and asking it anything. So we can just say, show a list of vendors. Okay, and now it's going to query the database, and it'll show a list of vendors. I'm going to just switch across. So here is Business Central, just so we can come back and forth and check how things are working. So if we go to our list of vendors, so here are the list of actual vendors. So if we go back here, this is the first query, so it sometimes takes a little second. Okay, so here are the first 50 of 224 vendors, and we can see, so yeah, so it's giving various details. If we look at maybe Africa Clear, there's a vendor, its balance is 110,000. There it is. So yeah, there's a list of vendors. Would you like to see or any specific? So that's just reading data. So let's try something like capturing an invoice. So I've got an invoice. I'm going to just drag it in here, and I'm just going to say, please capture this invoice. Can I just leave it a little spelling mistake? I'm sure it will. Will sort that out. So let's just to show you what I'm capturing. So this is the invoice that I've dragged and dropped in. So it's just a simple invoice from a supplier called Amarin, and there are two different items, and this is the quantity and the price. Okay, so if we go in here, it's telling me I can see the invoice. It's getting it's now extracting the data, looking for the items. So immediately you see here it's looking for the items in Business Central. For those of you that looked at the payables agent is limited to GL entries only. Okay, so this is not limited to that. It does everything, and so now it says, okay, I've created this purchase invoice. Purchase invoice 2216. There's the invoice number. It gives me a little bit of a summary. These are the two items. It found these items. It's given the total, and it says it's in draft status. So let's just go across to our Business Central here, and let's go to the list of purchase invoices. Yeah, there are quite a few, but let's just filter for Amarim. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Here's the invoice. You can see here it was created now, 22nd of May at 10:20, just so there's proof that it was just done. There it is for Amarin. Yeah, it's found these products and put the cost and everything. Filled in the vendor invoice number, the document date. It's got that all from the actual invoice. Okay. It says, do you want to post it? Yes, let's post it. And so hopefully it'll now post that invoice. If we go back to Business Central, it's thinking and it'll post it. Okay. While it's doing that, let's do another one. Okay, there we go. It's been posted and finalized. So if we go here And let me just refresh it. Okay, it's gone. It's been posted. Yeah, there we go. It's done. So let's do another one. Whoops. So capture this invoice 2. Okay, so now let's do another one. So let me open this invoice and show you what it looks like. So this invoice is from a supplier called Sparse Furniture, and it's for some desks and pot plant stands and delivery fees. Okay, so these are not stock items that I have. These are fixed assets and delivery fees. So it's not going to find these items. Okay, so let's see what it does. It's doing the same thing, and it says it's found the vendor. It says no items have been found for any of the lines, and now it's going to search for a GL account that might match the descriptions. In the system, I don't have any GL accounts for top drawers or pot plants or anything like that. So it's just going to think a little bit and say it'll hopefully come up with something, and just give it a sec. So here, just while it's doing this, I've manually attached a file to this agent. You can configure the agent to run in the background, to monitor a mailbox or monitor a SharePoint folder, and act on it. So, when you get invoices, you can just drop them into a folder. It will then monitor that, work through the folder, and it will capture it. So you don't have to do it slowly one by one. I'm just doing it like this to show you the process of what it goes through and how it works. So it says, so it says here, no matching, I'll use these GL accounts. So it's suggesting it's going to use small assets, and then it's going to do technical field services, and then the delivery fee of courier and postage. So it's just said, this is what I'll do, and it's going to create that invoice. So we can go back to the purchase invoices, and here we go. This one created now for Sparse Furniture, and if I open it up, it's now, there's the invoice number. Everything has been created. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So that's just to give you an idea of purchasing. Let's look at it from a sales perspective. So I'm going to say I've set it up as a demo company, De Grendel, which is a wine business. Let's say I'm going to be a sales rep visiting a customer. So I can ask information about the customer, view past sales, I can create a sales document, and then I'll show you a little bit about how this all fits together. So let's just create a new, okay, there we go. It's created the invoice, and we can post it. Okay, let's just create a new chat, and I'm going to go and visit the Cape Grace Hotel, and just to prepare, I want to find out what they've purchased so far this year. So I'm going to ask the agent for that. So I've also just set it up just to talk to it rather than type it in. I find it quicker. I'm going to visit the Cape Grace Hotel customer. Please show me a summary of their sales per month for this year by value. Okay, that's just, so let's see. So first, I didn't say what customer number is or anything. And so it's going to go in. Let's just exit this. It's going to go in here. If we have a look in our Business Central, and let's search for the Cape Grace. Okay, there we go. Okay, we've got a bunch of different sales invoices, you know, and on each one, you know, I've got a bunch of different items that I've sold them. So what it's doing is going in, it's looking at, it's finding the item, it's going into the item ledger entries, or the value entries at least, and it's doing all these calculations. While it's doing that, I also want to just show you, so as Gerard mentioned, you in the Business Central, you configure the MCP server. So you go in here and you configure it like this. So here is your MCP server, and I'll explain a little bit about describe, invoke, and search and what these things mean. But here's the available tools, and this is where you set what that MCP server is able to do. So it comes with a list of standard APIs, and for each one of them, you can choose what it's allowed to do. You know, and we've got read, create, modify, delete, and then bound actions. So bound actions are things like posting the invoice. So, you know, how I've set this one up is to say the MCP server can read the items, it can create new ones, it can modify, delete for items, customers, vendors, all of these things. Company information, it can read, it can't modify or delete. It can create sales invoices and modify them, you know, but journals, it can't. So this is everything it has access to. In addition to this, when I query it and when I interact with it, I'm doing it as myself. So if I don't have permission to create an item or even read an item, even though the MCP server has access to it, I don't, so I won't be able to do it. You know, if I can't post an invoice, I won't be able to post the invoice, even though the MCP server has access to it. You know, we saw that with the creation of the purchase invoice, that it was created as me, the user, not as the AI agent. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, great. So it says here I've got all the 31 entries. Here are the sales by month for each, and they're no posted for May. Okay, great. So, but that I want show by item by month. Yeah, so you know, we can see that, you know, here are all the figures, here's all the information. Let's get it giving a bit of detail about the actual items that we sold to that customer. Just to also let you know that this is, in terms of the speed at which it is going back and forth, this connecting to a sandbox environment. So the sandbox environment is a little bit slower than a production environment. So here we can see for them, you know, these are the sale figures by item, by month. Yeah, it shows me this is the top seller. and it gives me a little bit of an analysis. Okay, again, we can create we can create a new order, and in a similar way, we can go and say create a new sales invoice with the same items as their last sale. And if we do that, it will hopefully go and create a new invoice. It will go and look and see what was the last stuff that we sold them, look at it, create a new invoice, and we'll be able to check that it's done that correctly. Okay, so it found the last sales invoice. It's now looking at the vintages, because this is a wine business set up to use vintages. And it's going to then create the sales invoice. While it's doing that, you can also create a new chat. And we can also ask questions about stock. We can say, how much stock do we have of the Elim Shiraz per location? If we go back to this one here, well, let's see if it created that. Oh, I might have gone off it too quickly. So if I ask for stock levels of Elim Shiraz, for example, the item's actually called the Grendel Elim Shiraz. So I don't even have to give it the right, the full description. It should hopefully look and find an item called Elim Shiraz, and it will give me the stock holding. While it's doing that, let me just show you how to actually set it up. So once you've configured your MCP server, what you do is you create a new agent in Copilot Studio, and you literally just go and say create new agent, and you can give it some tools, and the tools that you give it is this MCP server. So you literally just say add a tool, and you search for business Central, and you see here is the Business Central MCP server. So it's as simple as that, and there we go. Okay, you can give it some specific instructions. So like here, I've given it some instructions just saying if a user attaches a PDF, then use the invoice data extractor agent. So I've linked it to another agent called the invoice data extractor, which is just another one that I've created to export the details, PDF details from extract the values from a PDF. of which vendor the invoice should be created for. And I said, unless explicit instructions are given, first use the description of the lines to try find an item. If nothing's returned, attempt to find a GL account. And that's, if a vendor can't be found, prompt the user to create a new vendor. I've just said use this API for stock related queries. And I said here the variant code is used to represent the vintage. So, you can give it instructions. And I've also said here, if the user attaches a photo, first do OCR on the image to get the values together with the prompt from the user. So, what I thought is what would be interesting to try is, being a rep, going to a restaurant, like, maybe I would catch a glimpse of their wine list on the table, and I can take a photograph of it. So, what I've done is I've got a menu here. So I'm sure you can see it. So I've taken a photo of this menu and, I can just upload it. So here's the photo, just to show you. So literally look there it is. And I can go and put it in here. Okay, I'm doing this in the testing mode just to show you what it looks like. So I've got it, and maybe I'm a rep, I'm looking for opportunities, and maybe I work for a distributor, and I can just say, do we sell any of these items? Okay, and I've just taken a photo of that menu, and I've said, do we sell any of these items? So because of the instructions, I've said first do some OCR to get the values and then use this in the query together with the prompt from the user. So it's not technical, it's simple, it's descriptive English. Okay, let's just go back. Oh, here we go. So, the breakdown of the stock for the Elam Shiraz by variant and location. So there we go, the 2021, this is how much we've got in each of these locations, the 22, the 23, the 24, and there's the total. Okay, and there is the item and the inventory by location. Okay, so now if we look and say, do we sell any of these items? Because I'm just in testing mode here, this will show you what it's actually thinking. Give it one sec. Come on. Not sure why it's taking its time. Let's try it again. Do we sell these items? Okay, there we go. So what this does is this shows you what it's doing, and it's showing that it's searching for. It looks to see what's available in BC. It looks and says, okay, what are the list of items? What are the list of actions? So you don't need to know, how Business Central looks. You don't need to understand, how to interact with it or anything. You literally can, just ask it simple questions. So going and saying, after scanning your menu item, I found 4 items from the hot beverage list that we sell. These are the ones, the tea, cappuccino, hot chocolate, and here's the price, and we've got 100 in stock of each of them. Just to show you. So, here's the tea, cappuccino, chocolate, 100 in stock, and those are the sales prices. And here it is. And we don't sell any of those other ones. All simply from taking a photo, and this is something you can use from your phone. You can use any channel to interact with it. Okay, so I think that's all for the demo. I'll hand back to Gerard now to wrap up and go through the last few slides.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much for sharing and showing this super exciting news. I'm sure that most of you will now agree with me that you can take your Wednesday afternoons off, and maybe not only the higher up levels, but that you can also give your staff some off time to rest a little bit, to be more proactive and learn more AI stuff, to be a more productive company, instead of working these long hours and save some time. I will then continue. We've got 2 more agenda points that I would like just to go through. So Doug, thank you once again for that brilliant demo and making us understand how Copilot interacts within Business Central using the MCP server and setup. If we look at some guardrails that's been put in place, as well as just to tell each other what MCP cannot do yet. There is the semantics gap, so that's the data versus the intent. The AI agent sees the actual raw data tables, but it doesn't always understand your business unique flows. So that means that it's not always perfectly, and it can misinterpret what the number actually represents operationally. So that means there could be possible mathematically business incorrect answers. If we look at the token tax, so we call it, overloading the brain. So as Doug showed us earlier on the MCP configuration, there's a lot of different tables that you can activate in the MCP server. It's not a good idea to turn on all and every single table in Business Central at once. That means that you could possibly have slower response times because, like we know, higher the cost for finding the data, the higher the AI agent will bring back, or higher the time it will bring back information. If we look at rigid error handling, so MCP respects Business Central strict database validation rules, which is great for security, but it could be tough for user experience. So that means that if we get any errors in Business Central, like a system error, and the LLM, the Copilot agent, is not always gracefully returning that error, and it can sometimes give up. And then lastly, if we spend some time in a Copilot agent, it likes to be interactive. So that means that the AI clients require a continuous stateful conversation to keep the dialogue going. So I would just like to highlight these 4 points out when you work with Copilot in Business Central. So lastly is then, how do we implement this solution in Business Central? And we got good news. if you have Business Central version 27 or higher, 28. I think most of us is having the rollout of version 28 this week. If you have version 27 or higher, and in the modern cloud structure, then you qualify to have the MCP server configuration available, which we as Linc will help you to set up the configuration. So once you're ready to give the MCP server a try in Business Central, please send us an email to the help desk. We will assign it to our consultant specialists, which will then help and assist with the implementation and the setup of your MCP server connection together with your Copilot agent. So talking about the AI agent, which is then Copilot as we've seen in the demo today. For Copilot, you would need to have a license, a Copilot license, which we as the Linc team would easily provide help and assist and activate that for you so that you can get the solution going. So just to quickly sum it up, think of the MCP server as like a toll-free highway built natively into your Business Central subscription, so that's included. Microsoft provides the road for free, not like we always have it in the real life. So your only actual cost is the fuel, which is then your AI agent Copilot, which is a license fee, and we are more than willing to help you with the licensing to get the solution going. Cool. So that then concludes our webinar for today.